Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, and to those of you returning, welcome back. If you would like to become an A-lister, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, make sure it's set to all, leave me a comment down below, and rate this video. Today we're having Wingstop because on Wednesday we ate wings. We eat wings. Yeah, don't quote me on that because it might not be every Wednesday. But I'm going to try and get a wing video out to you guys every week because in my last wing video, you guys said that you were perfectly fine with that and you would love that. So, I'm going to try it. And yeah, so today we have Wingstop. I have boneless wings today. Mango habanero, Hawaiian, original hot, Cajun corn, carrots and celery, and then I have cheese fries today. And then here I have ranch and blue cheese because I know a lot of you guys don't like blue cheese. Some of you guys, I have actually turned you on to blue cheese, which is really good. Sweetie Snacker, she actually turned me on to blue cheese and I've loved it ever since. Yeah, so I have ranch, so I'll be dipping in both. And I have water to drink. And yeah, today I'm doing a true crime. So I'm going to eat for a little bit and then we'll get right into the story. All right. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody. I want to know, do you guys have any New Year's resolutions? I'm going to try this in ranch. And if you do, let me know what they are. Delicious. I decided to get everything today. I figured let's end the year with some wings and let's get everything that I like. What a way to end the year. These are my favorite. So today I'm going over to my parents' house for New Year's Eve. I'm not sure what my mom is cooking, but I know she's cooking something. Last I talked to her, she didn't know either. But it's probably going to be pozole, tamales, or tacos, or enchiladas. Maybe a little bit of everything. I don't know. Let me know what you guys are doing for New Year's Eve. And what do you guys usually do? Do you guys watch the ball drop in New York? I don't know. What do you go out? Do you go to parties? Do you go to the bar? Do you go bar hopping? Do you light fireworks? Do you stay at home, have a party, light fireworks, bang pots and pans? Or do you guys just chill at home and bring in the new year nice and cozy and relaxed, sleeping? I think that's how we brought in the new year last year. We didn't do anything. I remember when I was younger though, my dad would always light fireworks and we would bang pots and pans together. And we would scream. In the most recent years, we haven't really done anything because the new year is kind of somber for my family. Actually, New Year's Eve was the last time I saw my sister alive. So it's very somber for my family. My sister passed away January 5th. And we knew that she was a little sick New Year's Eve, but we didn't know exactly how sick she was. I don't even think she knew. But yeah, the New Year's, for my family, not so much in recent years, but at prior years, the New Year's didn't bring very much joy to us. My brother was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease around the beginning of the year. This was a few years before my sister had passed away. And then my sister passed away at the beginning of the year. So we don't do a whole lot of celebrating since then. Or not as much as we used to. Things are just different. And I've seen a few of you mention in the comments that, you know, you're struggling with the loss of loved ones. And it is really, I can relate with you guys because it is really hard around the holidays to be cheerful and happy when you have loved ones that, you know, you wish could be with you. But sadly, they're not. Things change. Dynamic changes in family. A lot. Some families fall apart. But, yeah. So, anyways, that's not what this video is about. Before I get too, like, dark. All right, so today's true crime is going to be the murder of Ben Oxley, Benjamin Oxley. He was a 36-year-old man. He grew up in Hawaii. He was originally from Arizona, I believe. But he grew up in Hawaii. He was a really well-liked kid. He was very active. He was on the football team. He was known as the barefooted kicker, because he would kick barefooted. Everybody really liked him. He was a very giving person. And by the time he graduated high school or college, I forget which one, but he graduated and he ended up moving to the mainland, to live out the rest of his life and, you know, start a family of his own. He ended up marrying a woman by the name of Dawn. They were married for a few years. They had a daughter together. Her name is Alyssa. And they ended up divorcing back in 2006. Ben and Dawn had divorced in 2006. And Benjamin ended up getting custody of his daughter, Alyssa. In 2007, Ben remarried to a woman named Melissa. They got married on the island. They all said their vows, even Alyssa. It was a beautiful blended family. And Ben believed he had found the woman of his dreams, and the same with Melissa, the man of her dreams. They were very happy. They had a happy marriage, although it wasn't that long-lived. The night of February 21st, 2008, it was just 1 month after Ben had turned 36. Melissa woke up to a gunshot. She didn't realize it at the time, but she woke up to a really loud noise in the middle of the night. This was around 3:30 in the morning. It was a full moon out. It was cold, crisp winter. They lived in West Covina, California, on a ranch. I forget the name of the ranch that they lived on. But yeah, Melissa woke up to a really loud noise. It woke her up. And when she woke up, she nudged Ben to be like, hey, something's going on. Can you check it out? Which, is normal. When I hear a noise and, I don't want to go check it out, it's usually the man who goes to check it out. So I'll do the same with Jose. If I hear something strange, I'll usually nudge Jose to see if he can go see what's wrong. Well, Ben didn't wake up. So Melissa, she got out of bed. She went out to see what was going on, what that noise was. And she said that she found the front door open. And then when she went back to the room to get Ben's help, she turned on the light and noticed that Ben was covered in blood and he was unresponsive. And she immediately ran to her 6-year-old stepdaughter, Alyssa. She ran to her bedroom, shut the door, and called 911. So she called 911. They went out to her residence. Now, living with them in the same house was Melissa's 15-year-old brother. And he didn't see anything. He didn't really hear anything. He was more so confused as to what was going on. So when they were questioning him, they were kind of suspicious of him at first because Ben died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head. And they were suspicious as to why he didn't know what was going on, and that he didn't hear the gunshot. But they checked him for gunshot residue and his hands were clean. He was, he was good to go. Now, Melissa, on the other hand, she was immediately, under suspicion. Because in all cases, you'll see this. The girlfriend or significant other is always the first one to be looked at. Or, significant other, whether it's girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. They're always the first one to be questioned and looked at. Because more times than not, that's going to be your killer. They're going to have more information usually. So Melissa was brought in for questioning. She had blood all over her. She wasn't like drenched in it or anything, but she had some on her face. She had it all over her hands. And they tested her hands for gunshot residue also. And she did have some. Now, gunshot residue, if you're familiar, if you're shooting a gun, when it shoots, it produces residue from the firing of the gun and the bullets. I don't know the scientific terminology or anything, but you'll have gunshot residue. If you're wearing gloves, it'll be on your gloves. If you're not, it'll be on your hands. I don't know exactly how far gunshot residue travels once the gun is shot, but nonetheless, Melissa did have gunshot residue on her. So, even more suspicion, right? So, detectives, they're investigating. And that same night, they also go to... Investigators got right on the case, and they learned that Ben had an ex-wife by the name of Dawn who lived not too far away. So a couple hours after visiting the crime scene, they went to visit Dawn and her 23-year-old boyfriend at the time, whose name was James. They went to go visit them and question them, and Dawn pretty much said that she hadn't seen Benjamin for weeks. The only time that she communicates with him or sees him is in the exchange of their daughter for custody. And James, he was adamant at the fact that he didn't have anything to do with the murder. He basically said, "I'm looking you in your eye. I'm telling you I didn't kill him. I had nothing to do with it. What more do you want from me?" He was very defensive. And living with them was Dawn's 15-year-old son, Devin. I don't know if he was questioned that night, but we'll get to him later on in the story. So the whole town is pretty much thinking that Melissa had something to do with Ben's murder, or Melissa murdered her husband herself. Her sister-in-law even would tell Alyssa, Ben's 6-year-old daughter, that she thinks that Melissa had something to do with her father's death. Now, telling a 6-year-old that her stepmom possibly had something to do with her dad's death, I just think is wrong on all counts. Like, that's just so wrong. Why would you talk to... I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, even if you had that suspicion, why tell a 6-year-old that, So, there wasn't a whole lot of evidence gathered. They didn't have a murder weapon. They just had testimonies, pretty much. So the case went cold. And then almost 2 years later, Dawn comes forward. Dawn is in police custody already because she was in custody for unrelated charges, for probation violation and also drug charges. And the same with James, her boyfriend. he was in police custody also for probation violation. I guess he had a gun or something. Just unrelated. Unrelated to the murder of Ben. So about 2 years later, Dawn comes forward and she's like, I can't take it anymore. You know, I need to get this off my chest. And she basically says that the night that Ben was murdered, she woke up and James had come home and said that he had gone and shot and killed Ben. She claims that she had nothing to do with it. She had no idea that he was going to do it. But James said otherwise. So, when Dawn came forward with her account of what happened that night, the prosecution basically gave Dawn immunity. If she were to testify against James when they go to court, if she were to testify against him and give a truthful testimony. So she was given immunity. No charges were ever put against her. Now, at first, James, remember he was 23 at the time, so he's 25 now, in 2010, and at first he pleads not guilty. So then they go to a preliminary hearing to see if there is even enough evidence to go to trial. And at that hearing, we hear Melissa's testimony, her account of what happened that night. And her story is the same. She woke up. She tried to wake up Ben. He wasn't waking up. She didn't realize, anything was wrong yet. Went out to see what the noise was that woke her up. The front door was open. She came back, turned on the lights, saw Ben with blood, went back to Alyssa's room, locked the door, and called 911. Her story never changed. Now, when Dawn was put on the stand, she said the same thing she told prosecutors, that she fell asleep that night. She woke up to James coming home, and he told her that he had shot and killed Ben. And then, remember I told you that Dawn had a 15-year-old son who lived in the house with her and James? He was also put on the stand. Now, I don't know if he was questioned that night, the night of the murder, but he was put on the stand as a witness against James. And he had said his testimony was that the night of the murder, well, actually, it was the night before the murder. It was February 20th. Remember, he was murdered at 3:30 in the morning on February 21st. So February 20th, that night, his mom, Dawn, and James were drinking. They were obviously drunk. They were doing mushrooms. They were doing illicit drugs. And he had overheard them talking about a plan to kill Ben. And he recalls his mom saying that she just wishes that he would just burst in flames. And if not, then James needs to kill him. So he didn't really think anything of it. He just thought it was like drunken banter because he knows that things were rocky between Ben and his mom because of the custody between Alyssa. And come to find out, Dawn was supposed to pay Ben $250 a month for child support, and Dawn didn't like that. She was court ordered to pay that. Dawn didn't like it. She wanted custody for herself. She didn't want Ben to have custody. So things were rocky between them. Let's see. I have one of these. Yeah. So then the judge, he needed some time to think on whether or not, so the judge decided that there was enough testimony to go to trial since James was pleading not guilty, and whether or not he was going to put the death penalty, if the death penalty was going to be put on the table. James comes back and basically admits to everything to alleviate the death penalty. So his story is different from Don's story, though. Don didn't have much detail. Don just said, James didn't like him. He wanted him dead, so he went and shot him. Woke her up in the middle of the night and told her. But James' story is different. And I forgot to mention that after Ben's death, Don ended up getting custody of Alyssa. So Alyssa was living with her mom and James, who killed her husband. Who killed her dad, I mean. That's crazy. Okay. So James comes with his story, and he said that Don is the mastermind of everything. It was Don's idea. James just loved her so much that he was willing to kill for her, to make her happy. And she was, in fact, mad at the fact that she had to pay $250 a month for child support, and she didn't like that. She wanted Alyssa all to herself. So that night, yes, they were drinking. They were doing mushrooms, and they had a plan. They had the plan to go and kill Ben. So that night, they got in his truck, and they went over to Ben's house at 3:30 in the morning, and James said that he tried to go through the front door, but the front door was locked. Now, this part, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would kind of make sense because Melissa said that she woke up and the front door was open, but James said that he tried to go through the front door, but it was locked. But that doesn't mean that on his way out, he didn't unlock the front door and go out the front door. So there's like mixed stories there. But now that I'm thinking of it, it makes sense. Like maybe he didn't come through the front door, but when he left, maybe he did leave out the front door and was in such a hurry that he just left it open. So that kind of makes sense. But anyways, his story is that he tried to go through the front door, but it was locked. But he was able to go through the sliding glass door, the glass sliding door, because it was unlocked. And prior to them showing up, Don had sketched on a piece of paper, the layout of the house so that James would be able to go straight to Ben and Melissa's room and, do what he had to do. And the plan was for him to kill both of them. Because that's what investigators were suspicious about in the beginning. They're like, why would somebody go into your room and only kill Ben and leave you alive? If it was somebody you didn't know, why would they risk you waking up, seeing them, and then leaving? And she was like, I don't know. But I digress. So James goes in the house, and he told Dawn to stay in the truck, but she decided to follow him in. And so they're inside. They're creeping quietly to Ben and Melissa's room. They get to their room, and then that's when James puts the gun behind Ben's head, and pulls the trigger. Now, at that time, James said that Don went to Alyssa's room and was going to grab Alyssa and take her with him. But he told her not to, because that would make them look suspicious. Obviously, the police would know right away that they're the ones that killed Ben. And the reason why he didn't kill Melissa is because he got scared. Once he shot the gun, he just got scared, freaked out, and left. And so they went home, they got rid of the gun. Well, they didn't get rid of it. They hid the gun, and they kept it hidden for a long time until things settled down. And then when things settled down, they got rid of the gun. Now, I don't know if police were able to ever recover the gun, and it was a shotgun. But all I could find in reports was that James hid the gun and he kept it hidden until things cooled down, and then he disposed of it. So I don't know if the cops were ever to recover it and see if it was the same bullet or the same gun that shot Ben. So I don't know. But that was his story. And Dawn continues to deny that she had anything to do with the murder. And yeah, so that's what happened. Melissa, she doesn't think that James was in on it on his own. She believes that Dawn had something to do with it. She had to have had something to do with it because of the turmoil that was there with the $250 child support and the custody issues that were going on. And she also said that James was only 23 years old and he didn't really know Melissa and Ben that well. So he, she believes 100% that Dawn was the mastermind. Now, to this day, Dawn still hasn't had any charges go up against her because prosecution gave her immunity. So until there's evidence that Dawn planned everything, she won't have any charges brought against her. There is some good that comes out of this story because Melissa fought hard for Alyssa. She fought to get full custody of Alyssa because she didn't want her living with Dawn. Dawn, had her drug issues. She was on parole. And especially if her mom was dating the person who shot and killed her dad, and if Dawn did have something to do with it, that wasn't a good environment for Alyssa to be in. So she fought hard for Alyssa, and the judge granted her full custody. So that is very good. So now Alyssa and Melissa are living together. She has full custody, and she also said that she didn't want Alyssa to grow up with any hatred towards the person who killed her father. And she said that in the beginning when it all happened, she said that no matter who it is who killed her dad and her husband, they are going to find it in their hearts to forgive them because they need to move on from it. They can't live with that anger or hatred in themselves, which I think takes a very strong woman to be able to do that. I couldn't say that I would be able to do the same if I was in a similar situation, but that's what she was able to do. So she actually visited James in prison, who, by the way, because he pleaded guilty, he got life in prison without parole. So he's in jail for the rest of his life. And so Melissa and Alyssa, they visited him in jail. They gave him their forgiveness. And to this day, Melissa still wants to see Dawn with some charges brought against her because she took away the love of Melissa's life. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this true crime. And yeah, I hope you guys have a awesome New Year's Eve. Let's bring in the new year with good positive vibes. And yeah, here's to an awesome 2020. We're going to start the new decade. I have some goals for this channel. So also with that being said, I don't think I'm going to be doing Monday through Friday videos anymore. I would like to try and do at least 3 videos per week. Yeah, and see how that goes. My channel has grown a lot this month. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting me. Happy New Year. I wish you and your family the best. And thank you guys so much just for always being there for me and supporting my channel. And yeah, I will see you guys in 2020. Bye.